This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Okay, good morning, Rabbi Glatstein. Today we're going to do something a little bit different than usual. It's going to be a shiur about a halachic inyan, but something that has become noigeya just very recently. We're going to talk about something that is discussed in a Tosfos in Masechta Brachos Daf Chavav Amud Beis. Tosfos says the following: what's the halacha if a person made a mistake and he didn't daven mincha on Friday? Well, let's start earlier even. What's the halacha if you don't daven a tefillah? You forget to daven. You forget to daven shachris. You forget to daven mincha. You forget to daven marav. You got to pay back. You got to make up. If you forget shachris, you daven 2 minchas. You daven mincha. If you forget mincha, you have to daven 2 maravs. If you forget 2 maravs, you have to daven 2 shachris. Right? But you only have the next tefillah to make it up. You can't make it up after that. What's the halacha if you forget mincha erev Shabbos? Could you make it up marav Friday night? Say, make it up marav Friday night. I'm going to make up a weekday tefillah by davening 2 Shabbos tefillahs. How can I make up a weekday tefillah? A weekday tefillah is 18 brachas. Shabbos tefillah is 7 brachas. How can I make up 18 brachas by davening 7 brachas? The answer is, you don't look at it that way. You didn't daven. You owe a tefillah. This is right now Shabbos. The only way to daven is this kind of tefillah. So even though you missed the mincha, you'll daven 2 maravs. Even though you missed Ata Chonein, you'll daven Ata Kidashta. Okay? That's the halacha. But here is the interesting question. And that is, what if on a regular Tuesday, you miss mincha, and it happens to be that it's Rosh Chodesh. So you're supposed to say Yalav Yavai. What's the halacha if you don't say Yalav Yavai by mincha? You earn Yotzei the tefillah, you have to daven again. Well, what if you don't remember until Marav? Said, not a problem. So I'll daven Marav twice. Yeah, but what if Marav is not Rosh Chodesh anymore? So I have to make up a mincha. Why do I have to make up a mincha? Because my mincha didn't have Yalav Yavai. Yeah, but I can't say Yalav Yavai in Marav. So what point is there to daven another Shemoneh Esrei without Yalav Yavai for missing a Shemoneh Esrei without Yalav Yavai? In other words, if that it's 2 days Rosh Chodesh and I missed Yalav Yavai by mincha, so then fine, so I'll daven Marav twice, both with Yalav Yavais. But if Mincha was still Rosh Chodesh, and then the next night Marav is not Rosh Chodesh, of what point is it? What am I accomplishing? The point is, I daven the Shemoneh Esrei. The problem was the Shemoneh Esrei is missing Yalav Yavai. Well, the Marav Shemoneh Esrei that I'm going to daven in lieu of the Mincha doesn't have Yalav Yavai.
The same problem is with Ata Chonein. She didn't daven Mincha Erev Shabbos.
Yeah. Okay, so that if I don't daven a mincha on Friday, then I could daven 2 maravs. You know why? Because if I don't daven mincha, I didn't daven anything. I didn't daven, so I have to daven now. But if I miss Yalav Yavai, I davened. I'm missing a paragraph. Well, I can't make up that paragraph in Marav. Okay, so the opinion of Rabbeinu Yehudah and Tosfos is that if you miss Yalav Yavai mincha and Marav is not Rosh Chodesh, you can't make it up. There's no point in davening again. Okay, look in Tosfos, very important Tosfos. Look, Tov lo yispal mincha be'erev Shabbos. If you made a mistake, you didn't daven mincha erev Shabbos, then you daven Marav twice. Tov lo yispal mincha be'Shabbos. If you made a mistake, you didn't daven mincha on Shabbos, mispal arvish time, you daven 2 maravs. Dahainu shel matzah Shabbos, you daven 2 maravs matzah Shabbos, umavdo barishayna. You make regular maravs. Umavdo barishayna. The atachan antano is in the first one, because it's the second one that's the makeup. Fine. Kasav Rabbeinu Yehudah. Imta, if you made a mistake, v'lo hisker rosh chodesh b'mincha, and you forgot Yalav Yavai mincha. Lo yispalel oid b'layla. Don't daven 2 maravs. Dolama yispalel oid. What's the point? Harei kvar yispalel kol tfilas ha'mincha b'oid yom. You already davened all 19 brachas. Levad rosh chodesh lo hisker, except for Yalav Yavai. Im kain ein marviach klum. You don't gain anything. Im yachzor v'yispalel b'matzoi rosh chodesh. You're not accomplishing anything by davening again matzoi rosh chodesh. Harei lo hisker oid tfilas rosh chodesh. Yeah, you're not going to be mentioning Yalav Yavai. V'yud ches kvar yispalel. and you already davened Shemona Esrei. So therefore, Rabbeinu Yehudah paskins, if you miss Ya'aleh V'Yavai by Mincha, guess what? You blew it. You blew it big time. It's Ma'uva She'eno Yachal Liskain. You can never make it up. By the way, the learning should be Lil Nishas Shimon Moshe ben Yisrael, Sham Sham Aliyah Shvil Meil Tzosha for the whole family, Ad B'Yas Gol Tzedek. Okay, so that is the opinion of Rabbeinu Yehudah. Okay?
Can I ask a scenario?
Yeah.
If you didn't get a chance to daven that,
Yeah. Then you daven Marav twice.
was it Yalavi or not?
Without a Yalvi. It's not Rosh Chodesh at night.
But
The reason is because if you didn't daven Mincha, you didn't daven. So you have to daven to make up for it.
here the answer is
But in this case, you can't make it up.
because you already davened.
Because you did daven. It's just a lacking tefillah, but that lacking cannot be made up.
The same Talmud of the bracha.
That's what we're getting to. That's what we're coming to. That's why we're talking about this topic. Okay? This is all an introduction to the last 10 minutes of the Shiur that we're going to talk about Saint Talmud of Bracha. Okay? Okay, so ask Tosfos. But wait a second. We know that if you didn't daven Mincha on Shabbos, you daven Mariv twice, Matzah Shabbos, even though you're not making up a Shabbos to Tefillah. V'loi dami. This is not similar. Lahada Amar Hacha. To what the Gemara says, that Tav Le'ispala Mincha b'Shabbos. That if you made a mistake and you didn't daven Mincha on Shabbos, Dimispala Arvis b'Chol Shtayim, that you daven two Marivs, Perish Shel Chol. The answer is Mishum Shaloi Hispalo Klal. That's because if you didn't daven Mincha on Shabbos, you didn't daven at all. So you are marviach. You do gain by davening a second Mariv, even though that Mariv is not the Shabbos tefillah that you missed. Because the way we view it is, you didn't daven, and now you're davening to make up for it. Imkein yarviach tefillas yurches kishamasab b'matzah Shabbos. Then you're gaining Shemona Esrei when you daven matzah Shabbos. Afal pi shelo yasker shel Shabbos. Then Tosfos asks, what do you mean? But now you're davening 18 brachos to make up for 7 that you missed. Tosfos says that's not a problem. Because really on Shabbos, you're supposed to say 18 brachos. It's just that we don't want to be matriach you, but in this case, it's not Shabbos anymore. You could daven 18 to make up for 7. Okay? So Rabbi said that's the psak of Rabbeinu Yehudah, that if you forgot Ya'aleh V'Yavai, Mincha, and Mariv is no longer Rosh Chodesh, you don't make it up. Again, why? The language is, right? Ma marviach. You're not accomplishing anything. No. Alanisim, you don't, if you miss it, you don't have to daven again. So it's not, with Alanisim, it's not really a problem. Okay. Does everybody agree with Rabbeinu Yehudah?
No.
Of course not, right? Right. So, the Rosh in Masechta Brachos, Parak Tefillas HaShachar, Ois Beis, he quotes the opinion of Rabbeinu Yehudah, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, on the 7th line in the Rosh says, the Chachmei Provencia, the sages of Provence and France, Hayu Oimim. No. If you miss Ya'aleh V'Yavai by Mincha, do you get credit for davening? No. So then you gotta daven again. V'chachmei Provencia hayu oimrim kivan shelo yatsa yedei chayvasai bezuat tefillah. Since you did not fulfill your obligation in mincha, havalei ki'ilu loy hispalel. It's as if you didn't daven. V'tzarech lehispalel shtayim lo erev, and you need to daven twice. Af al pi she'ein masker shel Rosh Chodesh shel Shabbos. Even though you're not mentioning Ya'aleh V'Yavai in the Marav. Or I'll give you another case. Let's say Mincha on Shabbos, instead of saying Ata Echad V'Shimcha, you say Shemona Esrei. You say 19 brachos. So now, and you don't realize until Marav time. Now, were you Yotzei with Mincha? No. Why? Because you didn't mention Shabbos. In other words, on Shabbos afternoon, you daven the Shemona Esrei. So beautiful. You're supposed to, anyway, that would have been the Lechatchila, just we don't want to be Matriach you. Yeah, but you still have to at least say, like a Ritzeir, so you have to say Shabbos. I didn't say Shabbos. So what do I do Matzai Shabbos?
Got to say too.
It's a Machloikes, Rabbeinu Yehudah, and the Chachmei Provencia. Rabbeinu Yehudah would say, what are you accomplishing by davening a weekday Shemona Esrei for not davening a Shabbos Shemona Esrei? You're not accomplishing anything. And the Chachmei Provence say, hey, I daven mincha, but I wasn't yotzei with that mincha.
Don't say that.
Because Rebbeinu Yehudah does say it. Because the last couple lines of Tosfos I didn't read. It says v'hu adin.
Oh, really?
Yeah, look. It says v'hu adin nami, that if you daven nami mincha b'Shabbos yudches shleimos, and you didn't mention Shabbos, Rebbeinu Yehudah says Motzei Shabbos you don't daven twice. Why? Ma marviach. What are you accomplishing? Okay. And the Chachmei Provence say no. If you daven a weekday Shemoneh Esrei on Shabbos, it's like lo yispalel klal, and therefore you need to daven to make up for it. It happens to be the only tefillah you could daven now is the weekday tefillah. So Rabbi says we have a machlokes rishonim between Rabbeinu Yehudah and the Chachmei Provence. What do you do if you forgot Yalav Yavai by Mincha? Could you make it up in a Marav that's no longer Rosh Chodesh? What's the halacha if you daven a weekday Shemoneh Esrei Shabbos by Mincha? And then, do you daven a weekday Shemoneh Esrei by Mariv to make up for it? So Rabbeinu Yehudah says, what's his lashon? What's his argument? He says, Lama yispal eloid. Imkain ein marviach klum, right? Ein marviach klum. And the Chachmei Provence say, no. Haveloi ki'ilu loy hispalel, v'tzorach lehispalo shtayim la'erav. Before we eat,
Rabbeinu Yehudah is saying that it's not.
Correct.
He counters something.
Right. So now let's just iron out. Let's just say clearly what's the machlokes between Rabbeinu Yehudah and the Chachmei Provence. This is how the Stipler and the Kilas Yaakov Simon Tezayin explains the machlokes very clearly, very beautiful. That the way Rabbeinu Yehudah looks at it is he sees it that if you daven Shemoneh Esrei on Rosh Chodesh and you forget Yalav Yavai, you are mispalel. You get credit for tefillah. You are yotzei tefillah. You have a chiyuv to daven. I was mekayim the chiyuv. The only thing I wasn't mekayim was I wasn't mekayim the chiyuv of mentioning Rosh Chodesh in Shemoneh Esrei. It's a separate chiyuv. There's one chiyuv I have to daven, and one chiyuv in my tefillah I have to include a mention of Rosh Chodesh. So therefore, says Rabbeinu Yehudah, I fulfilled tefillah. I didn't fulfill mentioning Rosh Chodesh in the tefillah. So now it's Motzei Shabbos. Now what do you want me to do? You want me to daven a Shemoneh Esrei that doesn't have a Yalav Yavai? Shemoneh Esrei I got already. Tefillah I was Mekayim. I wasn't Mekayim the insert. Well, I can't insert it now. So Ein Marviach Klum, I don't gain anything. However, says the Stipler, look at number 5. The Chachmei, the Ches Pei stand. Anybody ever see that before? Ches Pei? It's a new Rashi Teivos. So you walk out of the show, someone can see, what does Ches Pei stand for? You say, I know, Chachmei Provence. The Chachmei Provence hold that the Chazal required you to mention Yalav Yavai and Shemoneh Esrei. And if you don't mention Yalav Yavai and Shemoneh Esrei, you're a Meshanem Mimatbeya Shetavu B'I Chachamim. You change the whole form of the tefillah. So it's like you didn't daven. It's not I davened, I just wasn't Mekayim the Inyan. I didn't daven. Oh, I didn't daven, I have to daven at night. But when I daven at night, but Rabbeinu Yehudah says, Ein Marviach Klum. What do you mean Ein Marviach Klum? I gain a lot. I didn't daven and now I'm davening. What do you mean? But my first tefillah didn't have Yalav Yavai and now I'm not getting that? No. My first tefillah wasn't a tefillah. Now the definition of tefillah has changed. Now that it's not Rosh Chodesh, the definition of tefillah is without a Yalav Yavai. Okay? So the machlokes between Rabbeinu Yehudah and the Chachmei Provence is how do we look at omitting Yalav Yavai? Do we omit it? Do we look at it that you just left out an insert, or do we look at it that you didn't daven? Okay.
What about Mincha and Shabbos?
Also Mincha and Shabbos. You need to insert Shabbos.
Insert. The whole atzvis of the Shemoneh Esrei.
But Rabbeinu Yehudah says, like I showed you at the end of Tosfos, that if you daven Shemoneh Esrei, a weekday Shemoneh Esrei, Mincha and Shabbos, he says don't daven Marav twice. Why? Because the only thing I omitted was the insert of Shabbos.
You omitted. You involved the whole Shemoneh Esrei.
No, because
the Shiur of Rosh Chodesh is a different thing. I can be
I hear. I would have possibly thought what you're saying, but Tosfos says, Hu hadin nami im espalo b'mincha b'Shabbos yirchesh.
I see that.
Nira, why? Dikvar as well, because since Tosfos is already established that on Shabbos really you should be davening 18, and then adding Mekadesh HaShabbos.
But it's a difference. It's a difference.
No, but Tosfos, right?
Instead of getting 100, you got 92.
Yeah. In other words, Tosfos views it that Ata Echad and Ata Kidashta, that's not like Me'ikar HaTfilah. Really, I would have been fine davening V'lam Moshinim and the Ikar part of the Tefillah of Shabbos is Mekadosh Shabbos. Yeah.
Also, the Yalav Yovoi is in the last three brachas. It's in the Hoidos.
Right. So it's more.
It's not really. It's like a schir. It's like that's an insert. Mekadosh Shabbos. That's the Ikar Shmon Esrei.
Body. The body verse.
Yeah, but Taisus does say that really on Shabbos we would have davened 18. I have 18, but what about Mekadosh Shabbos? Where would we have put it? We would have just thrown in those words. Maybe we would have given an ahava to for a cherry on top, the ahava, and the Mekadosh Shabbos. How do we paskin? Rebbeinu Yehudah or Chachmei Provence? So before you look, what would you say off the bat? When you have a machloikes in brachos, whether you should, right? Chachmei Provence, you say daven again. Rebbeinu Yehudah says don't daven again. What would you say? I would have said Savik brachos lahava. Yeah, but by Shemona Esrei you always have a way out, and that is you could say Tfilas Nedava. I could say like this: according to Chachmei Provence, I need to daven again. According to Rabbeinu Yehudah, I'm not allowed to daven. Yeah, fine. So I'll daven an extra tefillah. The halacha is, if I want, I could daven as many tefillahs as I want.
On Shabbos as well? On Shabbos any
No, not on Shabbos.
So therefore you can't do a tefillah and
So we're not talking, none of the cases we mentioned yet are on Shabbos.
Okay.
You forgot it on Shabbos, but you're making it up.
I forgot by Mincha on Friday.
We didn't discuss that case yet.
Yeah, not yet.
We discussed the case where you forgot Yalav Yavai on a Mincha. Stama Tuesday, right? Or you forgot Shabbos Mincha and you're making it up Motzah Shabbos. Motzah Shabbos like a dam. We're going to go. But what you're saying is very important. We're going to come to that. Yeah. So what would you say to do? Well, since I have the option, Rabbi Sai, since I have the option of Tfilas Nadava, Rabbeinu Yoinok says like this. These are the last three lines in the Rush. V'hadavar muchra. The matter is
decided.
Is indecisive. It cannot be decided. It's hanging. Rabbeinu Yonah therefore said, the correct approach to get yourself out of any problems. You should daven Mariv at night b'toras nedava as a free offering. Right? The halacha is, if I want, I could daven Mariv 3 times any night. Mm-hmm. However, we don't really do it bisman hazeh because halacha is when you daven tefillas and dava, you have to add something. You have to be moist of something. However, says Rabbeinu Yonah, in this case, I don't have to add anything. My addition is that I'll be yotzei the tefillah according to the ches pays. Who are the ches pays? Chachmei Provence. That's the hoisafa. The hoisafa is now by davening again, I'm going to be yotzei l'chol hadeyos. That's the chiddush. Ve'ein sarach lechadesh b'adavar, says Rabbeinu Yonah, you don't have to add. The kivan shemispal oisal derchas safek. Since I'm davening it again because maybe I need to. Ein lecha chiddush gadol mizeh. There is no greater chiddush. So that's the halacha according to Rabbeinu Yonah. We have machlokes rishonim. Rabbeinu Yehudah says don't daven again. Ches pays. Chachmei Provence say daven again. Says Rabbeinu Yonah, the way to be yotzei l'chol hadeyos is you daven again and you have in mind that it's a tefillas nadava.
Like that, too.
How do we pass in the Rosh Hashanah? And that's how the Shulchan Aruch paskins. Look at number 3. Ta b'mincha shel Shabbos. If you make a mistake, mincha on Shabbos, v'yispalel Shemona Esrei, 18 brachos, and you didn't daven, you didn't mention Shabbos, mispalel b'matzah Shabbos shtayim, you daven twice. You don't make havdalah on the second one because the second one is a makeup for the mincha. The yispalel oisa b'toras nedava. You daven it as a nedava. Who says that? Rabbeinu Yonah. Ve'in sarach lechadesh b'davar. V'hu adin im lo hizkar yalav yaveh b'mincha shel rosh chodesh. Okay? Says the Mishnah Berurah. What's the explanation? Says the Magen Avram. B'taras nedava. Mishum diyei shoymrim de'in sarach lespalo shenis. There are those Rishonim who say you don't have to daven again. What do you gain? Who says that? Rabbeinu Yehudah. The tefillah sarishana command less adami. And there's one opinion that the first tefillah is nothing. Who says that? Chespei. Yeah. Kivan shespal b'Shabbos yud ches lachein yispal b'nedava. So who do we paskin like?
Chespei.
We're not taking sides. We're not taking sides. Nobody takes sides. That means it's a suffix. We're not paskening like any shita. We're not paskening like the Chachmei. We're not saying you're mechuyev to daven.
We're doing like the Chachmei though.
No. Not, why do we? No, we're doing nadava. So we're concerned for both opinions. Okay, it's the hadavar muchra means we don't have a definitive psak. So therefore, what?
Chachmei Yehudah.
What's that?
Chachmei.
Yeah, both of them. In other words, we take both sides. We take both sides. We're yotzei l'chol adeiros. Okay. However, let's just point out that this eitzah only works on a weekday. But if a person forgot Yalav Yavai Mincha Erev Shabbos, and now it's Mariv Friday night, then you're up the creek without what?
Paddle.
Very good. Without a paddle. Then you're up the creek with that. Why? You'll say, I'll daven Mariv twice, and I'll daven the second one as a Tfilas Nadava.
Can't do that Shabbos.
You can't daven a Tfilas Nadava on Shabbos. You can't, what's the pshat? During the week, right, a Tfilas can get karbonis. You could bring a carbon Nadava during the week, but you can't bring a carbon Nadava on Shabbos. You can't be Mechala Shabbos by bringing a carbon Nadava. And therefore, says the Mishnah Berurah, this whole halacha is only negah during the week. However, look at number 11 for a moment. Im chal Rosh Chodesh be'erev Shabbos. If Rosh Chodesh comes out Erev Shabbos. V'haya Rosh Chodesh rak yom echad. And it's only one day Rosh Chodesh, but 2 days Rosh Chodesh. Then everybody agrees you could daven Marav twice, because you're getting the Rosh Chodesh. Right? V'shachach be'mincha lahazka shel Rosh Chodesh. V'nizkar achar shechashecha. And you remember after dark. Ein lahashlim klal belel Shabbos. You're up the creek without a paddle. Kivan de'ena mo'el klum. It doesn't help at all. Then we have to be worried about Rebbeinu Yehudah. We're always worried about Rebbeinu Yehudah. We're always worried in Marviach Klum. The thing is, we have a way to be Marviach, and that is by davening Tfilas Nadava. But on Shabbos, where we have no option of davening Tfilas Nadava, de'ena mo'el klum v'rak sheyachal espal b'nadava ve'en mespalim Tfilas Nadava b'Shabbos. Okay? Okay. Now, bear that in mind. Look at number 6 for a moment. Says the Stipler, a certain Chacham that will remain nameless brought to my attention the following issue. According to the Shita of the Chachmei, who's the Chachmei? Okay, good, you got it. Okay, I'm just checking. Okay. The halacha is. What?
You know your
Yeah.
stuff.
He says like this. What's the halacha if you forget Rosh Chodesh Shachris? You got to daven again. What do you want to daven again? I'll chap Rosh Chodesh Musaf. What am I lacking? The insert. I'll get the insert in by Musaf time. No, you got to get it in by Shachris time. It doesn't help that you're gonna. But the halacha is, and the Mishnah Berurah brings this down. The Shulchan Aruch Paskins in Kuf Chavav Sif Gimel. What if the Chazan and Chazaras Hashatz forgets the Alav Yavai? You scream at him, yeah, right. But the guy doesn't hear, or the guy makes believe he doesn't hear, right? And he just keeps on going, and they're tapping him on the shoulder, and he's already Havarech Zama Yisrael, and he's finished. Yeah.
That's Tzibura, so maybe you wouldn't have to.
So what's the halacha?
You wouldn't have to repeat it.
So what is the halacha?
I feel sorry for the cousin.
What's the halacha? Does he have to repeat Chazar Sashatz? Now, one thing. If the halacha is going to be he has to repeat Chazar Sashatz, he will never be allowed to daven again in the shul, right? But what is the halacha? He does not repeat. Why? Tircha de Tzibura, and he'll catch it in Musaf.
Hopefully he caught it in his first shot.
What if he said in Belachash?
No, but in the olden days, he would only die. That's it.
What if he said Belachash?
You're right.
But he has to say it aloud.
No, but if everybody davens for themselves.
No, but then what are you saying Chazar Sashatz
He said the
for?
old days they didn't do it.
So then, for those who don't know, they need a good Chazar Sashatz.
Everybody knows.
So no, if you're doing it, that means you're worried. Not everybody knows. So the halach is Shulchan Aruch Paskins. You can look it up. Siman Kuf Chavav Sif Gimel. That if the Sheikh Tzibur did not mention Yav Yavai, he doesn't go back. Tircha de Tzibura, and he could always make it up in Musaf. Frek the Chacham Echad. Bishlama, according to the Reishiyud. Rebbeinu Yehudah. So fine, he missing an insert. He'll make it up by Musaf. But according to the Chachmei, he didn't daven. If he didn't daven Shachris, you don't tell a guy, you didn't daven Shachris, no problem. You could always daven Musaf. What's the logic of the Shulchan Aruch? That if the Shliach Tzibur did not say Yalav Yavai, no problem, he could always make it up in Musaf. Making up in Musaf only makes sense if all you need to do is make up an insert. But according to the Chachmei Provence, if you miss Yalav Yavai, Lo Yispalel Klal. So how could a guy who's Lo Yispalel Klal say, oh, don't worry, I'll daven Musaf. Shkoich you daven Musaf, but you didn't daven Shachris.
What do you mean you make it up in
He'll get the insert in by davening Musaf. And Musaf you say...
How does it help for Shachris?
The answer is because the only thing I'm missing is... I wasn't Mekayim the Inyan of putting in the Haisafa in Tefillah. So I'll be Mekayim the Inyan of Haisafa B'Tefillah and Musaf. We don't give that dispensation to a Yachid, but we give it to the Shliach Tzibur. Right? Because the Tivot Tzibur will say, you know what, even though really you need to be Mekayim insert in Shachris, we'll let you be Mekayim insert in Musaf. But what are you going to tell the guy? Really, you need to daven Shachris, but you don't have to daven Shachris today. You could just daven Musaf. How can we go that far? It doesn't make sense. I can understand, oh, you weren't Mekayim insert, so you get a B'diavad insert in Musaf. But what are you going to tell the guy? You didn't daven Shachris, it's okay, you'll just daven Musaf? I mean, Jewish people got to daven Shachris.
We're assuming that he said Yalav Yavo and silent Shemana.
Okay, fine, but the Tzibor needs a Chazar Sashatz. They don't have a Chazar Sashatz.
Tzibor waves it.
You wave it, but
waves it. And doesn't assume anything. If he forgot Chazara, maybe he didn't even do it.
Yeah, what's the halacha if the guy B'chlal left out Chazar Sashatz? Well, what if, they realize after the San Shemana essay, all of a sudden everyone goes down to Tachnon, and it's the end of the davening. You got to do Chazar Sashat. No, Tircha de Tzibura. You'll have conveniently people forgetting the Chazar Sashat. You see, it will start happening more frequently.
So do Heicha Kedusha.
So that's the kasha. Says in fact the Stipler. How, according to the Chachmei Provancia, how does this halacha? That if the Shliach Tzibur forgot Yalav Yavai in Chazar Sashatz, don't worry, he could always make it up in Musaf. That doesn't fit in according to the understanding of the Chachmei Provancia. So says the Stipler, you could say like this. You ready? A little Lomdus. It won't hurt you. Don't worry. Says the Stipler, why do the Chachmei Provancia hold that if you miss Yalav Yavai, then it's like you didn't daven? It's like you didn't daven. Well, if I miss Al Anisim, it's not like I didn't daven. If I don't say Atachin Antanu, it's not like I didn't daven. Why? If I don't say Yalav Yavai, is it like I didn't daven? Well, the Chachamim felt that it was so critical that the way they were masaking the Tefillah was that if you don't say it, you have to daven again. Once they established that you have to daven again, Memela, if I don't say it, it's like I didn't daven. But by a Shliach Tzibur, who doesn't say Yalav Yavai, they never formulated their takana that if you miss it, it's like you didn't daven. The way they formulated it was that a Shliach Tzibur who doesn't say it is not like he didn't daven. To him, it's like he davened and he has the opportunity to make up the insert in Musaf. In other words, the Chachmei Provancia hold that if you miss Yalav Yavai, you didn't daven at all, right? Why? Obviously, it's a very important thing, to the point where Chazal established it in such a serious manner that if you don't say it, it's like you didn't daven. But by the Shliach Tzibur, they weren't masaking it like that. They didn't treat it like that. But by a Shliach Tzibur, the Chachmei Provence hold that it doesn't become such an integral part of Shemona Esrei that if you blow it, it's like you didn't daven. Because of Tercha de Tzibura, and because of the opportunity of makeup for the Shliach Tzibur, they did not formulate their takana for the Shliach Tzibur.
Because of what?
Tercha de Tzibura.
Well, what's the second statement?
And because you have the opportunity to make it up. In other words, they don't give the Yachid the opportunity to make it up. But because of Tercha de Tzibura, they give the Shliach Tzibur the opportunity to make it up.
The Yachid can't make it up because he's not.
Because he didn't. In other words,
he didn't daven. Yeah.
But why is it considered you didn't daven? It's because the Chachamim say you got to go back and daven again.
Is this because?
I'll give you an example. I'll give you an illustration.
This is now. I understand that if you
in other words, it's not the pshat. The reason you have to daven again is not a siman. It's not symptomatic of the fact that you didn't daven. It's the fact that the Chazal stamped it that you have to daven again. That's what makes it.
It's an integral part
that you
of
didn't daven. Yeah,
it's a part of Shmoneh.
Right.
Like you left out of one of the brachos.
So says the Stipler. What's the halacha for Shliach Tzibur? Says, B'nei Yerushalayim, Shema Kaleinu, Hashem Lakeinu, Hashem Lakeinu, Kavrachim Hashem. In most places, nobody will know the difference, right? What, right? Included if he said nobody knows the difference. What? What's the halacha if somebody forgot a bracha of Shmoneh? Shliach Tzibur forgot a bracha of Chazar Sashatz?
Probably you wouldn't have to go back.
Yushalmi holds you don't have to go back. Yeah, but what happened to Chazar Sashatz? The answer is...
You got 89% of them.
Even though the Bavli, the very likely argues, they were misakein... The way they view Shmoneh Esrei for Shliach Tzibur is different than... By a regular person, if he omits certain things, it's considered meshana mi matbeya shetav b'chachamim. But for the Shliach Tzibur, the matbeya is a little bit more loose. It's not as firm. So if he deviates from the way...
You can also be mechalik the way the Shliach Tzibur used to be in the old days, when he was might to everybody. Then I think even if you miss a bracha, then you're not yotz at all. But today, since the Shliach Tzibur says it himself, and then he just says it over again, then...
No, the Yishalmi holds even in the olden days that if the Shliach Tzibur misses a bracha, he doesn't go back. Now, it doesn't mean the people yotze the Shmoneh Esrei.
Yeah.
Okay, let's take it one more step before we get to the fun part, okay? It's all fun, but okay.
I hear it.
Says the Stipler, the Mishnah Berurah and Siman Taf Chaf Beis, Sivkatan Daled, brings down the Knesset Hagdolah. Well, now we're not talking about the Shliach Tzibur anymore. We're talking about you, okay? You forget Yalav Yavai on Rosh Chodesh, okay? What's the halacha?
If you already davened,
I didn't say if. What's the halacha? If you forgot,
you never davened.
What?
You never
You didn't? Right. You got to daven again. But what if you don't remember that you forgot until after Musaf?
then you do it.
You're good to go.
Yeah.
Once you already daven Musaf, so you got it. Correct the Stipler. That only works out according to Rebbeinu Yehudah. That the reason I have to daven again, Shacharis, is because I wasn't Mekayim inserting Rosh Chodesh and Tefillah. So we say, if you didn't daven Musaf yet, you have to daven Shacharis. But once you already daven Musaf and you're Mekayim the insert, so you don't have to go back and daven Shacharis, you already fulfilled what you need to fulfill. But according to the Chachmei Provence, who, if you miss Yalav Yava, you didn't daven, so we tell a guy, you don't have to daven Shacharis today. You know why? Because you already daven Musaf. What does Musaf got to do with Shacharis? So, in fact, that says the Stipler, it would seem that the psak of the Mishnah Berurah, that a Yachid who forgot Yalav Yavai does not have to go back and repeat Shmoneh Esrei once he already daven Musaf, that only fits in according to the pshat of Rabbeinu Yehudah. Now that's very difficult to say. Why? Because why would the Mishnah Berurah paskin like Rebbeinu Yehudah? The Shulchan Aruch says this is a davar she'eino machra. And what do you do when you don't know what to do? Daven again as a tefillas nadava. The same way if you forgot Yalav Yavai Mincha, you daven 2 maravs as a tefillas nadava. So why, if I davened Shacharis and I forgot Yalav Yavai and I daven Musaf? So now Rabbeinu Yehudah would say, I don't have to daven again. The Racham would say, I have to daven again. So daven again and Shacharis says it's tefillas nadava.
Can't do daven Shabbos.
I believe it's a very shver to say.
We're talking Stam Rosh Chodesh, not.
You're saying what?
You can do nadava. We're just talking Stam Rosh Chodesh.
No, we're talking Shabbos.
No. I'm talking about. I know Stam Rosh Chodesh. So why does it? Why? What? So how could the Stipler say? The Stipler is saying the psak of the Mishnah Berurah is only according to Rabbeinu Yehudah. What does that mean? Then according to how would the Mishnah Berurah be able to paskin like Rebbeinu Yehudah? The Shulchan Aruch doesn't know who to paskin like. So what? And the Chachmei Provence would say to daven again, and halacha l'maisa, the halacha would be daven again as a tefillas nadava. that means the Mishnah Berurah is not telling you what to do. Then that means the Psak of the Mishnah Berurah is just telling you what Rabbeinu Yehudah would hold, but the Halacha L'maisa would be differently. I mean, I think it's very difficult to say, like the Stipler, that this Psak of the Mishnah Berurah is going Lefi Rabbeinu Yehudah. All of a sudden, the Mishnah Berurah is being Machriya and the Machlekes Rishonim.
He's saying the fact. That's what it is.
But if that's the case, that means the Mishnah Berurah is passing like Rebbeinu Yehudah, and that means Halacha L'maisa, the Mishnah Berurah would also tell you that if you forgot Yalav Yavai by Mincha, you don't daven 2 Maravs as Tfilas Nadava.
Because if you can do it, you can do it.
What do you mean if you could do it? If you could, why? How does the Mishnah Berurah have a right to say if once you already daven Musaf, you don't daven again? That's only according to Rebbeinu Yehudah. But the Chachmei would say you have to daven again, and the Shulchan Aruch in this situation recommends davening Tfilas Nadava. Yeah.
Okay, I have 3 questions.
Yeah, let's do one. Okay?
One at a time.
Yeah.
Okay. What if you forgot to acknowledge the fact that it's Rosh Chodesh during the at the two meetings in Shacharis? At the regular one and the Musaf one.
Yeah.
It means that you do.
No, there's no Yalav Yavai by Musaf.
It's automatic.
It's incorporated.
It's incorporated. I remember when I was in 3rd grade, the Rebbe came in and he said, "Who said Yalav Yavai in Musaf?" And everyone raised their hand.
That's pretty hard to predict.
Right? I remember we were trapped.
You're affected for life.
But if you got the entire day that it's Rosh Chodesh, you just didn't know for some reason.
The halacha is you're only allowed to make up the immediately previous Shemona Esrei. So if let's say you woke up the next night, it's Rosh Chodesh, I didn't say Yavim Mincha, then I daven 2 Maravs. But you can't make up Shachris, you can't make up Musaf. Right, in that case, okay? So, again, yeah. So the Stipler is pointing out that the Psak of the Mishnah Berurah, that if a Yachid forgot Yalav Yavai by Shachris, once he's already daven Musaf, he doesn't daven again, that only works out according to Rebbeinu Yehudah. I find that very hard to accept. The Mechaber, who the Mishnah Berurah agreed to, the Mishnah Berurah didn't say, the Mechaber says that we have to be Choshesh for Chachmei Provence, but I hold, no, you don't have to be Choshesh. Why? That means the Mishnah Berurah is somewhat Soiser himself, according to this type. Nothing, no. We hold like this is the Mechaber, that it's a Badavar Mukhra, and therefore you have to be Choshesh for the Chachmei Provence, and you have to daven again as Tfilas Nadava. So why wouldn't the Mishnah Berurah say here also, that if you forgot Yalav Yavai Shachris, and ready to daven Musaf, so now according to the Rebbeinu Yehudah, you're good, according to the Chachmei Provence, you're not good, so daven again as a Tfilas Nadava.
You have to daven Musaf again?
No, Shachris again. Shachris. Correct, right. And in fact, Rav Scheinberg points out that really what the Stipler is saying is you can't really say, because then it would come out as stira in the Magen Avram. Because the Magen Avram that we read in number 4, who does he paskin like? Nobody. He says v'hadavar muchra, and therefore you daven again as Tfilas Nadava. And the Knesset Hagdolah, who says that a Yachid who forgot Yalav Yavai by Shachris, once you already daven Musaf, doesn't daven again, the Magen Avram is the one who quotes that Knesset Hagdolah. So that means the two are contradict each other.
The discussion is only on the Magen Avram.
But I feel it's a question on the Mishnah Berurah also, because the Mishnah Berurah didn't argue on the Mechaber when he said v'hadavar muchra, and therefore you should daven again as a Tfilas Nadava. He accepted the fact that we're Choshesh for the Chachmei Provencia, and therefore you have to daven again to be Choshesh for them. So then why would he say that if you daven Musaf already, then you don't have to daven Shachris? That's only good according to Rebbeinu Yehudah. According to Chachmei Provencia, you would have to daven again, and therefore Misafik you should daven Tfilas Nadava. So I think that basically this forces us to say that the Psak of the Mishnah Berurah, in the name of the Knesset Hagdolah, who says that if an individual forgot Yalav Yavai by Shachris, and he already daven Musaf, the Knesset Hagdolah says you don't daven again, you have to say that's consistent with the Chachmei Provencia. How is that consistent? But the Chachmei Provencia would say, you didn't daven. You didn't daven. So I wrote over here, maybe you could say like this. Very similar to what the Stipler said before. Why is it considered that you didn't daven? Because the Chachamim went so far as to say that you have to daven again. how do we know that the Hoysafa is so integral to the Shemana Esrei that if you didn't say it, it's like you didn't daven? You know how we know that? Because the Chachamim went so far as to say that if you missed it, you got to daven the whole Shemana Esrei again. Well, a Yachid who missed it and then daven Musaf, the Chachamim did not go as far as to say that you have to daven again. In other words, the Chachamim only made it part and parcel of the Shemona Esrei so long as you didn't daven Tfilas Musaf. But once you already daven Tfilas Musaf, they didn't go so far as to say that it's like you didn't daven.
Look at this unit, basically.
But it's not so simple to say. Tzarech, exactly. That's definitely Tzarech.
Itself is
what?
Musaf itself is Rosh Chodesh. It's
right, but according to Chachmei, if you didn't daven, Musaf is not a makeup for Shachris ever.
No, but it's you're recognizing that it's Rosh Chodesh.
But the Chachmei said the problem was not that you didn't recognize now. The problem is you didn't daven. But maybe once I recognize, so then that tefillah is not, the only reason it's like I didn't daven is because I didn't recognize. But once I recognize, so now it's like retroactively I did daven.
I brought the Korban Musaf, but I didn't say Yelvia. Yeah.
Okay, ready for this one? This is great. This is great. Mincha. It's Rosh Chodesh. I forgot Yalav Yavai.
During the week?
During the week. On a Tuesday. So I daven again. This time I said Yalav Yavai. But I forgot the same Talamat Levracha.
Did he get it right?
What do you do?
Say it again until you get it right.
No. What's the halacha?
The second time you could say Talamat, you forgot the Yalav Yavai.
Right here, the first time I forgot Yalav Yavai, I got the same Talamat. The second time I forgot the same. What's the halacha?
Do it again.
You get it right.
No! According to Rebbeinu Yehudah, I daven. The only thing is, I didn't say Yalav Yavai. So the second Shemona Esrei, I said Yalav Yavai. Yeah, but the second Shemona Esrei, I didn't say the same Talamat Levracha. Yeah, but I got it in the first Shemona Esrei. According to Rebbeinu Yehudah, the problem is, I missed an insert in Tefillah. So the first insert, the same Talamat Levracha, I was Yotzei in the first Shemona Esrei.
Nice that you did it.
The second insert of Yalav Yavai got in the second Shemona Esrei.
The Chespenik.
But according to the Chespeis,
Yeah.
I didn't daven not the first time. I didn't daven the second time. And guess what? You're going to be standing davening Shemona Esrei ad bi askoyel tzedek until you get it right.
Could be good for team bracha.
But you could have corrected yourself in Shema Kolenu there.
Okay, good. So 1 second. Not so, okay. Now we're going to throw in the final curveball. Comes Reb Chaim Brisker, and either the first piece or one of the first pieces he has on Shas. And he says the halacha is, if you forgot Yalav Yavai, Mincha. So what's the halacha? You daven Marav twice. According to Rabbeinu Yehudah, you don't have to daven Marav twice. But according to Chachmei, you have to daven Marav. So you daven again as Tfilas Nadav. What's the halacha if you forget the same Talumatar by Mincha? So everybody would agree you have to daven Marav twice because you are Marviach. But what if you forget the same Talumatar Levracha Mincha Erev Shabbos? There's no V'sein Talumatar Levracha on the Friday night Tefillah. So what would you say the halacha is?
Not accomplished.
Rabbeinu Yehudah would say Ein Marviach Klum, so it wouldn't help to daven Marav twice. And the Chachmei Provence would say you didn't daven, so you do daven. So you say, well, I'll daven. So what should you do? Tfilas Nedava, but you can't daven Tfilas Nedava. So we all here would say the halacha would be if you forgot the same Talumatar Levracha Friday by Mincha, what's the halacha? You're up the creek without a paddle. Because you can't daven Tfilas Nedava. Says Reb Chaim, no, that's not the halacha. The whole machlokes between Rabbeinu Yehudah and the Chachmei Provence is only if you forgot Yalav Yavai. But if you forgot the same Talumatar Levracha, you didn't daven. Because the same Talumat Bracha is not a hoisafa. It is an integral part of the Shemana Esrei. And therefore, even the Rebbeinu Yehudah would agree that it's like you didn't daven, and therefore if you forgot the same Talumat Bracha Friday afternoon, everyone would agree you have to daven 2 Maariv. In other words, if you forget Ya'alav Yavai by Mincha, by Erev Shabbos, and then Maariv is no longer Rosh Chodesh Shabbos, then you're up the creek without a paddle. Why? Because you need to daven again as a Tfilas Nadav, and you can't daven Tfilas Nadav Friday night. But the same Talumat Levracha, everybody would agree, says Reb Chaim. Look at number 9. Yeah, when you leave the Kollel, you say, what did you learn today? I learned the Reb Chaim stencil. Oh, Reb Chaim stencil, that's big stuff. Okay? Listen to this. It says, B'shachach v'loyamar talumatar b'mincha b'erev Shabbos. If you forgot, you didn't say talumatar by mincha erev Shabbos. Dehadin d'mispala arba shtayim. That the halacha is you daven Maariv twice. V'afte ba'arvis lo yasker talumatar. Even though by Maariv you're not going to be saying it. But Tosfos says, if you forgot Ya'alav Yavai, ma moyo, how does it help? Yeah. Ulam, next line. V'talumatar ein lahakshus kain. Mishum the talumatar hu meiseder hatfila. That's part, integral part of Shemana Esrei. Uchshelo yomer have a meshanim imatbeir shetav v'chachamim ukeilu lo yispalo klal. But Ya'alav Yavai is only a hazkara. Ya'alav Yavai is an insert. The same talumatar bracha is like missing a bracha. Everyone would agree if you miss Baruch Aleinu, you're going to have to daven Maariv twice Friday night, even though there's no Baruch Aleinu Friday night. So the same talumatar. That's the opinion of Reb Chaim on Shas stencil. However, comes Shas Tshuvas Har Tzvi, the Tzvi Pesach Frank, look at number 12. And if I'm not mistaken, this is also the opinion of the K'tzais HaShulchan, and also the Kaf HaChaim. And he disagrees with Reb Chaim. He says, pink fakir, just the opposite. He says if Ya'alav Yavai is an insert, Kal V'choymer v'sein Talumat Bracha is an insert. V'haraya, what's the proof? Ya'alav Yavai, if you forget Ya'alav Yavai, could you say, I missed it in Ritzei, I'll catch it in some Shalom. I'll catch it in Moedim. No. Ya'alav Yavai only has one place in the Shemana Esrei. And if that's considered an insert, even though it's immutable, it cannot be moved, then Kol Shekain, V'sein Talumat Levracha. Everybody knows if you didn't say V'sein Talumat Levracha and Baruch Aleinu, you could always make it up in Shema Koleinu. The fact that you could make it up in Shema Koleinu shows it's not part and parcel of the Shemana Esrei. It's just an insert. Because if it wasn't an insert, how could you make it up in a different location?
Shema Koleinu, especially Shema Koleinu, is only because of insert.
It's an insert. So therefore, says the Har Tzvi, if it's an insert, listen carefully, and you miss V'sein Talumat Levracha Friday afternoon, what would the halacha be for Maariv Shabbos? Rabbeinu Yehudah would say, what? Ein marviach klum, because there's no insert. The Chachmei around you would say, well, you didn't daven. So what do? You can't daven Tfilas Nadav. So you can't daven again. So it comes out, Reb Chaim Brisker and the Har Tzvi are diametrically opposite. The Reb Chaim Brisker would say that if you forgot Ya'alav Yavai, everybody agrees by Mincha Erev Shabbos, you can't make it up Friday night. But what if you forget V'sein Talumat Levracha? Reb Chaim would say V'sein Talumat is different. It's like missing a bracha. It's like missing an integral part of the Shemana Esrei. And therefore, you can even make it up Friday night because I didn't daven Mincha. Says the Har Tzvi, no. If Ya'alav Yavai is an insert, then certainly V'sein Talumat Levracha is an insert, and therefore it's an insert that can only be made up when you have the opportunity of Tfilas Nadava. But Friday night, where there's no opportunity of Tfilas Nadava, you can't make it up. So what do you do? What do you do Lamaisa? Let's say this Friday, it was only like the third time you were saying V'sein Talumat Levracha. What would be if a person forgot V'sein Talumat Levracha? Do you go like Reb Chaim and you daven again? Or do you go like the Har Tzvi and you don't daven again? Well, I would say, go back. We would have said Safek Brachas L'Hakel between Rabbeinu Yehudah and the Chag Ravansya, but we had a way out of it. You have Tfilas Nadava. But now on Shabbos you have no opportunity of Tfilas Nadava. L'Chayra, you would say Safek Brachas L'Hakel.
Don't say it. And
your mamish up the creek without a paddle. Rabbi Chaim would say you got to daven again. Rabbi Har Tzvi would say you probably should not daven again. So this is a very Lomdus sugya on a technical Indian, but it's really a beautiful Lomdus. Okay.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.